Hello students, welcome to the fourth video of the module 5, and this module I am going to discuss what is sampling and introduction about the sampling, that is sampling theory and random sampling. Sampling theory. What is random sampling? A large collection of individuals or attributes or numerical data can be understood as population or the universe. A finite subset of universe is called as the sample. For any test, if you wanted to conduct, what we will do is only we will do the sample of it, and then we will go for the testing. Based on that, we will do the conclusion. The number of individuals in the sample is called as the sample size. If the sample size n is less than or equal to 30, the sample is said to be small. Otherwise, it is a large sample. The process of selecting a sample from the population is called as the sampling. The selection of an individual or item from the population in such a way that each has the same chance of being selected is called as the random sampling. Suppose we take a sample size n from a finite position of size n, then we will have possible samples. The random sampling is a technique in which each of the samples has an equal chance of being selected. So, sampling where the member of the population may be selected more than once is called as sampling with a replacement. If the member cannot be chosen more than once is called as the sampling without replacement. For example, if we want to select a team of cricket and football in a class of say 50 students, then what we will do is we will be selecting randomly a team of cricket members. Then, supposing after selecting the cricket team, there are chances if the same students are getting selected. Supposing if those students are included in the 50 for the next selection, that is for the football, then that is the sampling with the replacement. And in case if that students are eliminated from the 50 and only the football team is selected only from the remaining students, then it is without replacement, the sampling without a replacement. Next, simple sampling. It is a special case of the random sampling in which trials are independent and the probability of success is a constant. The word statistic is often used for the random variable or for its values. Next is the sampling distribution. Let us suppose that we have different samples of size n drawn from a population. For each and every sample of size n, we can compute the quantities like mean, standard deviation, etc. Obviously, these will not be the same. Suppose we group these characteristics according to their frequencies. The frequency distributions those so generated is called as the sampling distributions. And these can be distinguished as sampling distribution of mean and standard deviation, etc. For large sample, it is assumed to be the normal distribution. Next comes the standard error. The standard deviation of the sampling distribution is also called as the standard error. The reciprocal of the standard error is called as the precession. Next comes the hypothesis. First thing is we will do the sampling, then we will go for testing of the hypothesis. In order to arrive at a decision regarding the population through the sample of the population, we have to make certain assumption referred to as the hypothesis, which may or may not be true. Much depends on the framing of the hypothesis. The hypothesis formulated for the purpose of its rejection under the assumption that it is true is called as the null hypothesis. It's denoted by H naught. Any hypothesis which is complementary to the null hypothesis is called as the alternative hypothesis, and it is denoted by H1. Example. To test whether the process B is better than a process A, we can formulate the hypothesis as there is no difference between the process A and B. Next, to test whether there is a relationship between two variables, we can formulate the hypothesis as there is no relationship between them. So these are the examples for hypothesis. Next, when we take the hypothesis, there are conclusions going for wrong decisions. Due to that, the errors may occur. That is, in a test process, there can be 4 possible situations, of which two of the situations leads to 2 types of errors, and the same is presented as follows. Supposing we will take the hypothesis, say for example the hypothesis is true and we accept the hypothesis, hence it is a correct decision. If the hypothesis is true but we reject the hypothesis, it is a wrong decision, it is a type 1 error. Next, if the hypothesis is false but we accept, then also it is a wrong decision, which is called as a type 2 error. And if the hypothesis is false and we reject the hypothesis, it is the correct decision. So what are the 2 types of errors we commit is, when it is true but we reject, it is a type 1 error. When it is false but we accept, it is a type 2 error. These are the 2 common types of error which we may come across. In order to maximize both these types of errors, we need to increase the sample size. It is further important to note that acceptance or non-acceptance of the hypothesis is purely based on the information revealed by the sample, and what is indicated by a particular sample may not always be true in respect of the population. Next, a region which amounts to the rejection of the null hypothesis is called as the critical region or the region of rejection. Next is the significance level. The probability level below which leads to the rejection of the hypothesis is known as the significance level. This probability is conventionally fixed at 0.05 or 0.01, being 5% or 1%. These are called as the significance levels. We feel confident in rejecting a hypothesis at 1% level of significance than 5% level of significance. So 5% level of significance can also be understood as the probability of committing errors of either type 1 or type 2 is 0.05, that is 5%. So in order to test the hypothesis, that is tests of significance and the confidence intervals, the process which helps us to decide whether the acceptance or rejection of the hypothesis is called as the test of significance. So for which we need to calculate what is the standard normal variate. Let us suppose that we have a normal population with the mu as the mean and the standard deviation as sigma, and if x bar is the sample mean of the random sample of size n, the quantity z, that is defined by x bar minus mu divided by sigma by root n, let's call this as equation number 1, is called as the standard normal variate, that is SNV. From the table of normal areas, we find that 95% of the area lies between z equal to minus 1.96 and z is equal to plus 1.96. And further, 5% level of significance is denoted by z 0.05. We can write the verbal statement in the mathematical form as follows. So this is how it can be formulated, that is minus 1.96 to plus 1.96. This is the standard normal variate Z. Or x minus mu is equal to minus sigma by root n into 1.96 and plus sigma by root n into 1.96, and it can be simplified further. Similarly, from the table of normal areas, 99% of area lies between minus 2.58 to plus 2.58, and this is equivalent to x bar minus 2.58 into sigma by root n is less than or equal to mu less than or equal to x bar plus 2.58 into sigma by root n. We can say that it is 95% confidence interval and 3 is 99% confidence interval, and the constants 1.96 and 2.58 etc. in the confidence limits are called as the confidence coefficients, and it's denoted by ZC. From the confidence levels we can find the confidence coefficients and vice versa. Here you can observe this point, that is minus 1.96, plus 1.96 and minus 1.96. When we take, this is the acceptance region, 95% it will be accepted and the remaining 5% will be in the rejection region. From the table these values are obtained. Similarly for 99%, when we take it as for a 99%, it will be extending minus 2.58 to plus 2.58, and for 95% it is minus 1.96 to plus 1.96. These are the standard deviations from the mean. Thank you.